Welcome to In Conversation with Joe Malone. I am Lauren O'Connell, the beauty editor at Cosmopolitan Middle East, sitting next to the woman who needs no introduction. You know, Joe, when I was thinking actually about how to introduce you, I thought to myself at first, well, I could say how she's inspired millions with her fragrances, and then I thought, you know what, everybody says that about you. Then I thought, well, maybe I'll say that there's so much more to this woman behind the scenes. There's a story of adversity, of overcoming obstacles. But then I said to myself, Lauren, don't say that because we're going to talk about that during the interview. So finally I realized I'm American. Today is Halloween. I should somehow weave it into my intro because I love Halloween. So last night, as I was eating some of the candy we have for the trick-or-treaters tonight, I was thinking about how the taste of the candy, it takes me right back to my childhood, these memories. And then I was thinking, when you smell your fragrances, the scent of the fragrance must take you back to the memory of creating the fragrances and on your journey as an entrepreneur. So I wanted to know, what was it like to create Joe Malone London? What was this journey?
Well, that was a long time ago in another life, but I was this young, I have to say hello everybody. How nice to be here in Dubai. Thank you for having me. And just walking in here this afternoon and seeing so many entrepreneurial companies here, it makes my heart really beat fast because it means the next generation of beauty is safe. As that young entrepreneurial woman, I left school at 15. I have no qualifications. I didn't go to uni. I didn't have, when I go around the world and I share my story and I say I grew up on a council estate, everybody thinks it was Downton Abbey. Have you ever seen Downton Abbey or The Crown? It wasn't. It was a 2 up, 2 down. No money in our house whatsoever. But I could make skincare product at the age of 7. I made my first face product at 7. And then I discovered that I had this unbelievable sense of smell. And I have something called synesthesia. So your suit, you can see pink. I can smell fragrance. So I can smell, I can smell a vanilla, a very, very black-seeded vanilla. And I can smell a raspberry sorbet and a rose de mai. So I thought everybody could smell and see color. And I realized when I got to the age of about 18, 19, that I realized I had this unbelievable gift.
A superpower.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
Yeah.
Everybody has something. And I found what my superpower, I suppose, what my gift was in life. And so building Joe Malone London was, all those years ago, was, we were just 2 young kids though, so it was full of anticipation, dreams, and naivety. And actually when you build your first business, naivety is your best friend, isn't it? Because you jump from the plane and you think, well, I got to land at some point, this parachute must open. Once you've done it once, the second time is much harder. But I think in 5 years, we opened our first shop in Walton Street in London, and within 5 years, we had sold our business to the biggest beauty giant in the world, which was Estee Lauder. So 5 years it took from building to selling.
Wow, and so you sold your business in 1999.
I did.
And then in 2006, you left Joe Malone.
Yes.
And why did you sell it?
I sold it because my husband Gary's at the back there. So we're husband and wife team and business partners and sometimes best friends, most of the time. But we built our first small business and we were 2 kids with no money. So we had this incredible thriving business, and I think our heads were down, we were working hard, but I could make 10 bottles and it would sell within 10 minutes. I could make 100 bottles and it would sell with 10 minutes. I could make 5,000 bottles and it would sell. It didn't matter what we did or what we created and how much we charged for it. You know, we were definitely one in a million in the country at the time, and all the other big industries were watching what we were doing. So the business kind of grew and grew and grew and grew. And then we had this little pool of money. I'm sure some of you will kind of recognize this. We had this little pool of money that would go, do we put it into trademarks and protect the next territory? Do we put it into packaging? Do we put it into training of staff? Do we put it into PR? Where do we put it? And this little money got smaller and smaller and smaller. And what we could see was our growth was starting to backfire on us.
Oh.
So although we could get our product into market, we couldn't protect it in the way that we needed to. So we got to a point where it was either we slowed down the whole business, and if you slow down a business, you can never guarantee on that momentum again, or we took a partner. And I'd grown up in a family where my father was always in debt, so I was really reluctant to borrow money or to sell half a business. And it was when Mr. Lauder walked through my door and said, look, Estee Lauder would like to acquire Jo Malone London. And I can honestly say at that point, Gary and I were still sleeping on our double bed, which was a piece of blue foam from Homebase. And we would roll out our bed, and all I could think about was, Gary, you'll be so happy we can buy a bed. And when the sum was divulged what they wanted to buy us for, honestly, I could have bought 1 million beds, by the way. And it was just so shocking. But I remember those last moments of negotiation, and we were negotiating our business, the selling of our business, probably one of the biggest things in our life, when we were in Portugal. And we were the only place we could get a signal on our phone was on the double bed. So we would sit there and negotiate backwards and forwards. And we eventually came to a sum that we were both happy with. And so the lawyers turned around to Gary and I and said, okay, you happy with the number? And I said, yep, happy with the number. Okay, have we got a deal? Yep, one more thing. You change the $ to sterling and you have yourselves a deal. I made 50% more that day, and they agreed by 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Wow.
So when you're negotiating, remember, always, if you are the one selling, you always have to have the last word. And I certainly had the last word.
Wow, you certainly did. That's advice I'm going to put in my pocket and keep with me for a long time. So when you did sell it, you had a 5-year non-compete clause. That meant that Jo could not be in the beauty industry for 5 years. But then you came back.
I did.
And so why did you come back with Jo Loves?
Well, I think, I sold the business at a time when I'd gone through a life-threatening situation. So I was given 9 months to live. I had cancer. And I had to go through a very extensive treatment. I was one of the first pioneering women to take chemo every 5 days, which was grueling. So I'd come out of that. I'd lost my sense of smell.
Okay.
And I thought it was never going to come back. And I was 39 years old with a young son.
Wow.
And I wanted to be mum. And I thought, if I've got 5 years left, I want to be there for him. So I quit and I left. And on the last few days of the run-up to leaving, I realized I'd made such a mistake in my life, because fragrance wasn't a business or a job or a career. It was my best friend.
Oh.
I realized, and I know that now, but at the time, sometimes in life we make calls that are not the right one. It's okay. It's all right to make mistakes, and you've got to learn from them, and you pick yourself up again. So I picked myself up in those 5 years of not creating fragrance. Every day I got up and I would see color, and I would see people, and everything would translate back into the sense of smell. So when those 5 years were up, I thought, I've got to try again. I felt I was still young enough to give it another shot.
Absolutely.
But I was too old to start, doing something completely different. So I started around a kitchen table, and we created the concept of this little baby here. That was in 2011, so a long time ago. My son, who was 7 at the time, I said, what are we going to call this brand, Gary? We went through all these names, and my son just leant across the table. He went, Mum, call it Jo Loves, because you love fragrance and fragrance loves you. And he was 7 years old, he's now 21, by the way, and a joy of a young man. But he thought of the name of the brand, and from the minute I heard it, it was like, that's it. And this brand is is all about my love of life, my
Yeah.
love of people, my love of adventure, my love of fragrance, everything to do with that. And I'm just telling you stories, one after the other, what Jo Loves is all about.
I love the name. And you know, it's amazing how our kids can just come up with these incredibly just wise things coming out of these little mouths that really just impact our lives, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there it is right before you.
Yeah.
And I didn't need a big advertising agent to name my brand.
You had it at your kitchen table. So when you created Jo Loves, what did you do differently than with Jo Malone?
So from I don't think anybody, when you create a second brand, and especially when it's in the same genre, you don't want to go back in time. Nobody wants to walk in the footsteps of their past, do you?
You need to reinvent.
The whole reason we're alive is to learn and to grow and to build, to help each other. But I didn't ever want to go back and copy Jo Malone London. And yet, fragrances, I know I can create fragrance like one of the best in the world. I know I can.
The
I
best.
can't do anything else. I can't drive, I can't swim, can't turn my left to my right, but I can create fragrance, and I can do it really well. So it was always, okay, so what do we do? And I delved into my imagination like that 5-year-old kid when I used to dream, and say, okay, dream again, dream about fragrance again. How would we bring it to life? And it was my 39th, 40th birthday, I think it was. And actually I was a bit older than that, 44. And Gary came up to me and he said, "There's a set of keys for your birthday." And I said, okay, well, I can't drive, so I know it's not a car. I love my house, so why would he buy me another house? And it was a shop. And we went down to Little Elizabeth Street, which is just on the brink of Knightsbridge and Belgravia in London, near Victoria Station. It's a little street of retailers. And I got to this shop and I put the key in the door, and what I realized was, for my birthday, he had given me the keys to the shop, but the shop that I'd had my first job in at 16.
Oh my gosh.
So I literally returned all the way, and in my book you'll see my first boss, who was called Justin DeBlanc, standing outside the shop, and then me all those years later, and I returned back to being a shopkeeper. And I walked in, and I swear this is true, the little shop had all this sort of like terrible tapestry on the wall, and it was really small. And I said to him, "That wall goes back 10 foot. And he said, "No, it doesn't. The plans told me." I said, "I promise you it does. Get me a screwdriver." And I screwed through the wall. Sure enough, it went back 10 foot. And I said, "We are going to build the first ever fragrance tapas bar right there." And he looked at me, and I thought he was ready to divorce me in a second. It was like, this woman drives me nuts. And he said, "We don't need a tapas bar." And I said, "No, for your nose. We're going to create tapas," which I'll show you later. And that's exactly what we did. We built this small little tapas bar, and I created tapas for your nose. So everything feels as though two worlds have collided, from a cocktail bar to a little tapas bar, but everything is about the sense of smell and storytelling. So we started this service. It's free of charge, and we call it our first kiss. The first time the brand kisses you and you remember us. Do you know that translates 100% of the time into a sale?
I'm not surprised.
And it costs pennies to do, but it engages every generation. So on a Saturday, you can come into Jo Loves in Elizabeth Street, and you'll see 3 generations, the grandmother, the mom, the sons, the daughters, all engaging in fragrance tapas and introducing them to a new brand.
Wow.
So Jo Loves is all about storytelling, passion. I was the first person to ever get a patent on a candle. So we have a candle cocktail bar where you become the artist, and we teach you how to make candles. So the shot and the base are 2 different fragrances. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is the paintbrush. The paintbrush is the Willy Wonka golden ticket.
Yes, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. And I have to say, way to go, Gary, with that gift. My husband's going to be texting you. He's taking notes.
It's my birthday on Saturday, Gary. You better the shop.
Gary has set the bar high. So when you started Jo Loves, can you just give us some advice? I'm starting my own beauty brand, and I'm sure I'm going to be asking you for advice throughout the year. But what advice do you have for anyone starting a new brand today?
So you need three things. I think in any business, you need passion.
Yep.
You need to, when I first started to, you know, I've just met Lauren, and we just had a brief conversation. I could see there's light in her eyes for her business, her new business. You need passion, and it becomes infectious. I don't know what product it is, I don't know what it looks like, but I want it because I know Lauren believes in what it is that she's building and creating. So you
You'll
need passion.
be my first one. I'll put you on my PR list.
Please. You need passion. You need to really feel that product, the heartbeat of your product. You need to understand its voice, understand its character, everything. Create the world in which your product lives in, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and tweak it and perfect it and perfect it and perfect it. You need resilience. So you're going to hear the word no more times than you hear the word yes. That's a reality, and no mentor can take that away from you. You have to learn to hear the word no, and you have to rearm yourself, dust yourself up, stand up, and go again. Because what that does is it gives us business muscle. We learn to be warriors in retail. And, excuse me, let me just have a sip of water.
Do you want me to?
I've been speaking a lot recently, sorry.
No, take your time.
That's better. So we learn to be retail warriors. And we need to learn to fight and hear the word no, sorry, and restructure ourselves.
Take another sip.
There's something in the air.
That happened to me on the way down here. And I was thinking, oh gosh, am I already getting nervous? What's going on? I was drinking water in the Uber.
The third thing we need is creativity. So I believe everybody in this world has a bank account. It's in your name, and it has the currency of creativity. No one can touch it but you.
Beautiful.
It's yours. It's what you do with that creativity. So the only time it will go up in value is if you invest in that. And no one can access it but you can't expect anybody else to take their bank account and put it into yours. You have to use that creativity. So passion, resilience, creativity. You've got to create the product, and you've got to stand behind it and say, if that was the last thing I was remembered for, excuse me, I'm so sorry, this never happened to me.
Take your time.
If that was the last thing I was remembered for, that in itself is brilliant. So you've got to create the product, and you've got to create the world it lives in.
Some more. Just take a minute.
You carry on.
I'll carry on. So one thing that I've always said is that you can never judge a book by its cover. That's something my mom taught me when I was little, and I have found that to be true more times in my life than I can count. And as we sit here looking at Jo, aside from her coughing, but she's so glamorous, and her life just seems so incredibly charmed and fragrant. And there is a story behind this woman that you've touched on a little bit, but she dropped out of school at 15. Her mom had a stroke at 16, and you became the full-time caregiver. And then you're a breast cancer survivor.
Yeah, I am.
So would you say that that inner force, that inner energy within you is a resilient one?
Yeah. I think I learned resilience as a young kid. From the age of 11, I was the sole breadwinner in our family, so I had to make sure that there was food in the fridge. I had two very creative parents. One was, my father was an architect, he was a magician, and he was a gambler.
Okay.
So on a Saturday, I would go to the markets and help sell his paintings. I would also, if he was gambling, I would sit in the corner and sign to him what everyone had in their hands. I mean, and I was only 11 years old at the time. And also with my mum, I would make face creams. So it was such an eclectic childhood, but you know, nothing is wasted. Our roots, where we come from, what countries we come from, our cultures, our family, they're all so important as to who you are and who you sit today. Never run away. And even some of those things are not particularly comfortable and happy, we can still learn. We can still learn, and we can still make ourselves so much better and learn from those things. And I look at my childhood. My dad, honestly, when he would paint pictures, I would sit for hours. I would clean all his brushes. You know, where do you think the idea came from to paint yourself with fragrance? My dad. So often these great ideas that we think, well, I'm not a genius, how can I change the world? They are sitting right beside you. And then suddenly when you see that idea, like with your skincare, you might come up with something and think, that's so obvious.
Yeah.
But do you know what, to an entrepreneur, what is the most obvious thing? 98% of the world can't see it.
Yeah.
That is why an entrepreneurial revolution is happening across our world at the moment, because we see with these eyes, we see these opportunities, we see these things, and then we grab hold of them and we make them happen. And that's why the world turns around and thinks, that's why mergers and acquisitions are so high. Because these young indie entrepreneurial brands through beauty, fashion, music, food are changing the world because we see the opportunity and we see the amazing product that is sitting to our left and our right.
Yeah, and you are a pioneer in that, and you really are an inspiration, not only for me, but for so many other entrepreneurs. You truly are.
Oh, thank you.
And you know, it's so interesting because in our talk so far twice, you've had instances where things have come full circle between the shop that you worked in and then became the owner and the paintbrushes.
The paintbrushes are, there's a moment in your life, and I think with all businesses, where you come to a crossroads. It's either through growth or it's through opportunity or whatever it is. And my paintbrush happened in Shanghai. So I was traveling with something called the Great Campaign. Have you ever heard about the Great Campaign? So it's something that the UK has put together, and we take creatives to become an ambassador for the Great Campaign, which I was. And they take creatives from every genre and we travel the world together. And on one particular occasion, we went to Shanghai. And we had, in the Bund, we had an exhibition. So we had Range Rover cars, we had champagne and wine, we had Burberry, I can't remember who else there was, music from Adele, the people that made movies, all kinds of things. And there was little old me. And I said to them, I tell you what, I will put a little tapas bar up in Shanghai and I will paint people with fragrance. And they all went to me, you'll do what? And I said, no, honestly, don't worry. I promise you I'll do it. So 2 days before Prince William, who is now the Prince of Wales, arrived with all the team from Downing Street and everyone, none of my order had arrived through customs. So all I had was a couple of paintbrushes, some fragrance, and nothing, absolutely nothing else. And so they came to me and said, look, you've got to set up. What are you going to do? And I said, none of my products arrived. And I sat there and they said, okay, we'll pull the Joe Loves tapas bar. And I said, no, don't pull it. And the entrepreneurial head. And I said, can I borrow a car for the next 2 hours? And he said, yes, where do you want to go? And I said, IKEA. And I went to IKEA in Shanghai. It was the only building I recognized because it was two big towers. And I thought to myself, okay, Joe, recreate tapas from IKEA. And I went round and I found cocktail shakers. I found rice bowls. I found chopsticks. I found a veloute gun. I found all kinds of things, put them back, set up my tapas bar. Within hours of Prince William coming round and saying, you know, good afternoon and how is everybody? And the following day, I set up and I started to paint people with fragrance with these paintbrushes. There were 5 people, first of all, in the first 5 minutes. Within 1 hour, we had 1,000 Chinese people lining up. We had 5 camera crews.
Wow.
We took over the front page of a newspaper and we were on every news channel. And today, we have a thriving business based in Shanghai. So thank you, IKEA. I could have so easily turned that down and walked away. And if I had, I probably wouldn't be sitting here if I'm really honest. But we have to take those opportunities. And when bad things happen and you have to twist it round and you have to think. And you know something doesn't have to cost a lot of money either.
That's the creative spirit within you. It really is. It really is.
The currency of creativity.
Yes, and now you're in Dubai.
Yeah,
you're in Dubai, and I was wondering, has the Middle East had any influence on your fragrances or specific notes that you just love from this region?
Do you know something? I've been traveling to the Middle East for a long time, and my Joe Malone business really was based upon a Middle Eastern consumer. I had a huge Middle Eastern and Indian following as well. But I've been coming for the last few years, and I'm at this point in my life, I believe life happens in trilogies. And my first one is the Cream and Black Box. The second one is definitely Joe Loves. But I've always felt in my life that there was this huge, big adventure that Gary and I would travel and change the world. And I'm sitting here today, I don't know what that adventure is, but I do know it's here. Wherever it is, it's going to be here in Dubai. So we made the decision in March to come live here and live. So we are new biz in this beautiful place. We've come here to live, and for 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows, and we'll find the adventure and we'll bring fragrance. But I believe the opportunity for me personally is here in Dubai, and that is why we've come here, and I'm starting to create. I went to my first studio meeting, and I started to create with Middle Eastern things, and I feel like this 30-year-old woman again, who is living her best life, who is discovering, learning, creating. So I think you'll be the first people to see the next part of the trilogy, and however it unfolds.
Well, we're excited to see it.
Is.
We're excited to see it. You know, there's a funny thing about living in Dubai, because everybody says they're going to come for 2 years, and no one leaves after 2 years. It's always at least 10 or 15.
Oh, I hope so.
I'm on year 14, so this is a magical place to live. It really is, and you're just going to be in great company.
Oh, it's just full of opportunity, and everyone wants to help each other here.
Yeah, everyone's really nice.
And that's such a rare thing in this world today.
Yeah.
And also to see, the collaborations, people wanting to work together, create new identities and new product. And I want my third trilogy to be part of creativity. And I want to, my favorite saying is, and it's in all the roundabouts, I think His Highness Sheikh Mohammed said it, something along the lines of that we will plant the trees so our ancestors can enjoy the shade. And that is what I want my trilogy to be part of, both Gary and I, that we can plant trees, opportunities, so the next generation can enjoy it.
Gosh, I love your energy. You are such a fantastic woman. You really are. So I wanted to ask you, because you are British, and what do you believe boosts the appeal for British brands and products in the Middle East?
I think Britishness I think our creativity, and we have a slightly eccentric kind of feel to us. I mean, when you look at someone like, is it Vivienne Westwood, all those years ago in fashion, and she would put high heels and tartan skirts, and she just appealed to so many people. I think it's that ability to not do things too correctly, if that makes any sense, and to bring that twist and that turn and that edge to something. I mean, you look at Charlotte Tilbury.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she is, I look at so many women, Marcia Kogol. No, Marcia Kogol was American, started out with Bliss, but then came to the UK, and then built her second, third, and fourth business. I mean, she's now on her fourth business. There's an energy and there's a creativity, and I do think it's, and there's a pursuit to continue to push those boundaries. I think that's probably one of those real blessed ingredients that the Brits have. Yeah. And that feeling of slightly eclectic, eccentric, I think people really enjoy. I personally love being part of that. But I think we are learning a lot from other parts of the world, the Far East, the Middle East. I think that you can see that collaboration and that engaging. Yeah. And collaboration, I believe, is one of the vital ingredients for our futures together.
Yeah, I do too, absolutely. And I always feel also that when I buy something that's British made, it's very special. There's something special about it. And I'm wondering, do you think that your British heritage and manufacturing plays a factor in the demand for Joe's Loves?
Yes.
Joe Loves?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I do. I think I'm the ingredient that pulls it all together. But when people buy a product with that little red dot on, they go, I know Joe creates. So that little red dot is like my Nike swoosh or my Apple. And the red dot, whenever I create something, I put a little Ryman sticky dot on something, and I sign it off. And when we were creating the packaging, it was, how do I identify myself from the Cream and Black Box, of which I'm still very proud of, but not part of the creative process, to this. And so that little red dot actually says that. But that says, I've researched the ingredients in your product. I've researched how the product feels on your skin. I know where that bottle comes. I know that the ribbon that we use has been used from plastic, from recycled plastic from the sea. So every single part of your brand, it's no longer about what does that just smell like. It's what is your responsibility? What is your sustainability? What is your productivity? Where does it, people, the next generation want to know everything about that product. And so the Britishness, I think if I'd been an American, I'd still feel the same, way about it. I have a responsibility to every single person that buys a Joe Loves product.
Do you think social media really created that big shift? Because I've seen that with, as a beauty editor, now when these brands come in, they always are talking about sustainability and everything being eco-friendly, eco-conscious. Do you think social media has played a big part in that?
Social media has been a big part in all of it, not just in that, but sustainability is a journey, not a destination.
Sustainable steps.
It doesn't matter if you can tick every single box that is on a piece of paper. Tomorrow you have to get up and look at it again. And we re-look at our product. Have we got everything right? No. But we are dedicated to the journey of responsible sustainability. And I think, we're definitely heading in those directions and looking, what we take from this world, we have a responsibility to give back. So you'll find some of the fragrance houses that are actually present in this fair. Some of their initiatives are so amazing. So they will take a raw material from a certain part of the world, but they will make sure that we replant trees, that we build a schoolhouse, that we make sure that there's running water. So there's that sense of responsibility with each other. You can't just keep taking and taking and taking and then expecting it to replenish itself. There has to be that give and take and that responsibility, and certainly the fragrance houses we work with all have those initiatives.
Amazing. Well, speaking of fragrance, why don't we check out this tapas bar? And I need to know a little bit more too about these paint brushes.
Okay.
So let's get into it.
So here is the little tapas. Can everyone see? My cough has gone, thank goodness for that. Sorry about that. So we serve 3 courses of tapas and you sit at a little brasserie bar. And if you look at it from the top, it's a big, huge glass red J, by the way. And you sit there. Your first course of tapas is a cocktail shaker. So in here, we're using all the products that we sell. So this is shower gel. And I've blended cobalt patchouli, which is my microphone, all right?
It's good. I think so.
Okay. So I've blended cobalt patchouli and pink vetiver in here. And so we shake it.
Ooh.
So just like a little cocktail. Nothing to drink, nothing to eat, only to smell. And then, here we go. Kids love this. And we take a little martini glass. And what I have done is I've created for you a cobalt patchouli and pink vetiver.
This is a bit like your dad's magician, too.
Yes, it is. It is just like my dad's. And if we just smell, I'm going to do a little squirt of, I'm going to put a little bit of the south of France on top of that. Cocktails being served in the J. Malone Lounge. Now, have a smell? You smell?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Do you want to have a smell? Don't drink. Just smell. Don't drink. There we go. And you can pass them around. So that is your first course of tapas. We'll pop that away.
Smells incredible. What were the notes in it again?
It was cobalt patchouli and pink vetiver. But what we're doing is we're putting the product in situ. So it's how it would feel in the shower or in your bath. But we've created it in a cocktail shaker. And this little boy came in with his mum the other day and said, Mum, I don't want it in a bottle. I want it in a cocktail shaker. And he thought that that's how you bought the product. But it's all about theatre and entertainment. So the next product I'm going to create for you is I'm going to create a little, I'm going to do a little bit of eucalyptus and cedar. And I'm going to create 3 different body lotions for you that we're going to blend with a little bit of...
What can I do to help? I feel like I'm in the kitchen and I'm not helping.
It's okay. I know what I love just playing around and I do this the whole time. And you know what, with your body lotions, it's so nice just to be able to blend them.
Have you ever had anyone take a sip?
No, no, please don't do that because it will make you really, really sick. So I've made this. I made this earlier on this afternoon. This is fresh pomelo water.
Oh.
So pomelo is the first fragrance. Let me get that.
Are you looking for the pomelo?
Can you look for pomelo for me?
Yes. Oh, right here.
Yep. So pomelo is the first fragrance of Joe Loves, and it is so my big dream is to make this the beach fragrance for the world, and it was created in the Turks and Caicos and Parrot Key.
Spray me up.
Okay, and what I made is I took some pomelo cologne and I added some beautiful water, and I created this gorgeous, fresh pomelo water.
Wow.
And now what I'm going to do is going to take my paintbrushes, give it a little mix together. And you can blend this, you know the whisks that you can make coffee with?
Uh-huh.
You can use that as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little cotton wool pads and I'm going to create some dim sum.
Oh.
You know, like those little pancakes that you get?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I'm going to take a little bit of this.
Okay.
We'll take that into the middle.
Oh my gosh.
So we do all of this and we create this whole magic. You could use this for your skincare.
Yeah.
You can take this idea and use for testing skincare, and you can just make little skincare, little pancakes.
As long as you don't mind.
I don't mind. I'll be on to the next idea. I'm going to skirt it with a little pomelo.
Okay.
Going to take a little bit of water, pomelo water into here. So it's like a cooking show. Whoops. And then going to seal. And then we have these lovely little dim sum pancakes, of which you can just take and try a massage into your hands. So there's all these sort of different ways of being able to create products, just using really, really simple things.
Oh, it's beautiful.
You get all the treats. There you go. And you just open it up and you massage that into your hands. So that is the second course. The third one is slightly different. So we have, in every culture that we go to, so in China, we would do cotton wool balls in rice bowls with cologne, and we would take them out that way. So whatever culture we go into, we look for something that we can identify with people and say, we've created tapas especially for you.
We should make tapas hummus.
Yeah, yes, yeah, exactly, we should. So the last one I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the paintbrushes. So these are the paintbrushes. A paintbrush is the best thing in the world to apply fragrance. And you can layer fragrance and combine fragrance so easily. But what I want you to do is I want you to look at your body now as though it's a canvas. So you're all going to become artists in a second. Who's ever painted with fragrance?
Not me.
So we now have a nice little lab experiment here and see if I can get you to all paint with fragrance in the next 5 minutes, which I can.
Yes, you can.
So I want you to look at your body as though it's a canvas, and you're going to look at all of these paintbrushes. So we have everything from green, orange, and coriander, which is New York in the snow, orange butterflies, Singapore and orange blossom, Joe by Joe Loves, the fragrance I created for me, white rose and lemon leaves, the Union Jack. And you are going to tell me a story of your life, just in 10 seconds.
Okay.
I want you to tell me a moment in your life that was the most happiest, and I'm going to create it. So neither of us knew that. She didn't know I was going to ask this.
Cool.
But I'm going to create it in fragrance for you.
One of the happiest moments of my life was the day I found out I was having a daughter, which was 14 years ago.
Right, the day you're having a daughter. Can you roll your sleeve up for me?
Yeah.
Right, hold on. I'm going to gather my bits. So I'm going to do that one.
Notice I said my daughter, not my son.
Where were you? What part of the world were you in?
I was in Dubai.
In Dubai?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, okay.
All right.
So I'm going to start by painting a little bit of fresh pomelo, because pomelo is about new beginnings.
Oh.
And it's about always being given, pomelo for me is about a new beginning, a new start, and happiness is just on our doorstep. So I'm going to paint the canvas of the body with pomelo first. Now this is a gel, you can see, and this is the paintbrush that everyone in the world thinks is the coolest product. And it's gel, you can travel with it, but it dries so quickly, and it's got a really, really lovely, strong smell of pomelo. And I'm going to use one of my big brushes just to dry it. Never rub fragrance, because it burns it, and it stops it developing. So we've got this wonderful, fresh, can you smell that? The smell of the beach.
Yes, it's beautiful.
I'm then going to take something which I haven't used. So this is called Shards of Cedar, but it has this beautiful, it's kind of very cologne-y, and it has a wonderful lavender note to it.
Okay.
And lavender always reminds me of when you swaddle a child, isn't it?
Yes.
That cleanness, that wonderful innocence. Can you smell that? Mm.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's gorgeous.
So we've taken a little bit of that, and what you can do is you can take it into your whole body. So it's only, obviously I don't want you to take your suit off.
I mean, I'll do anything you want.
No, that's fine. But it would go over your whole body, or you'd paint on different parts of your body. And then we're going to take, this is cobalt patchouli, and this is about new life, looking up, looking at blue skies and dreaming and realizing that life is so much bigger than we ever possibly can imagine. So I'm going to take a tiny bit of that on top. So we have pomelo, cobalt patchouli, shards of cedar, and then I'm going to put the tiniest little bit of orange butterflies, which is, orange blossom is my favorite note. And this feels like orange butterflies that have just taken flight, and all the orange blossom.
Oh, what a beautiful image.
My own fragrances are making me cough.
Grab your water.
And then we're just going to take a little bit of the orange butterflies over the top. Very, very feminine, and the orange blossom. And there we go.
Let me smell.
It's the story.
Oh my goodness.
So you can do anything with fragrance. Fragrance is like color, taste, and you can literally do anything that you want. And I could do all of you with a different story and a different combination. And that is how special fragrance is. It can tell stories, it can leave memories, it can plant new memories, and it can kiss you for the first time.
Oh, it's a beautiful combination. This also smells to me like my starting my skincare brand, Another Birth.
You can feel all of them pushing through, and then as they dry and your skin gets warmer, the high notes will start to push through.
Oh, this is absolutely beautiful.
Well, I hope you enjoyed.
You are just unbelievable.
Well,
so
thank you.
We're going to now do a question and answer. So for anyone that has a question for Jo, we will have a microphone passing around. Just raise your hand, and it will come right to you. I'm sure some of you must have a burning question for this.
I hope you enjoyed that.
Wonderful entrepreneur. Yes,
it's fun,
we loved
isn't it?
We have a question right over here.
Hello, Jo.
Hello.
I'm a fellow Bexley Heath person.
Oh my goodness, that's where I grew up.
Yes, just round the corner probably. Can I just ask, I'm in business too, did you find a lot of jealousy? I think that was the thing for a small business person trying to develop, but you've obviously done so well, and congratulations. But did you find that within your industry, and how did you cope with it?
With other people that worked for me, or
no, from fellow
from competitors?
Yes.
No, I don't think I'm trying to think. I mean, listen, we actually spoke about this today, rivalry, and rivalry is not a bad thing as long as it's done with kindness. And I know those two things sound very opposite, but you know, when we go back to male and female, how they operate in business, men thrive on rivalry. It motivates them, it gets them. And women need to be in the same position and realize that it doesn't have to be about somebody taking a piece of the market. You know what? Competition breeds the market. So I remember when we had Little Wharton Street, and just as we were about to open our first store, I noticed that Santa Maria Novella had opened right opposite, and I cried. I was like, you know, I've opened my shit. And Gary said to me, Jo, what does that matter? If somebody is looking for a fragrance, they're more likely now to come to Wharton Street because you're all there. so you're working together, and actually it's a mindset. I've never had anyone in business that has been jealous, and that's maybe because if I did sense it, I would walk in. I don't want to be around that, to be honest. I don't want to be. We need each other in order to build. And like when Lauren was telling me about, you know, her new skincare brand, we were just sitting next door, and I said, I've got a friend, you must speak to her. She used to work for me. She set up her new business.
Yeah,
that's how the world operates. And if you find someone that is, you know, often people say to me, when someone copies you, do you find that complimentary? No, I don't, actually. I find it creative laziness. When people copy you, it's because they can't think of their own idea.
True.
That does make me cross. But jealousy, no. I don't engage in it. I don't allow my life to be tainted by it, to be honest.
Perhaps it's also that people know you're a Scorpio, and
Yes.
they know do not mess with a Scorpio. So, are there any
That's
other
very true.
questions? Oh, right here.
Hi Joe.
Hello.
I'm Tajinder Banwaite. I'm the founder of a home fragrance brand called Urban
I can't
Pop.
hear you very
Can
well,
you
sorry.
move it closer to your mouth?
A bit closer.
That's better.
My name's Tajinder Banwaite. I'm the founder of a home fragrance brand actually in the UK called Urban Apothecary. Now, we're all building brands. There are a lot of brands here, and I'm part of the DIT trade mission,
Yes.
the beauty one
Me
that's here
too.
today. And we'd like to, we're all on different journeys, but I'd like to know, if you had your time again, what advice would you give to somebody that's looking to exit a brand?
Oh my, that is such a great question. I think when your name is attached to something, like mine was in the beginning, there is responsibilities for the rest of your life. And the people that I would still sell Jo Malone London to Estee Lauder today. Would I sell it in the same way? Absolutely not. But every business that you grow and you build, you learn. I mean, that's how we learn. And many generations ago, you wouldn't sell your business. You would hand it to the next generation. Now that's not happening. People are building businesses. And some young, you know, people are building their business before they're 30, especially in tech. And then they go on and they build again. And we need that. We need that freshness and that liveliness and that new life that's, you know, that's shooting around. But if I was to sell my business again, I think Gary's probably a better gauge at answering this. But I made a few mistakes, and I would definitely rectify those. I think if your name is attached to something, you have to have some kind of relationship and continue, because when your name is with it, I've learned that there's the good and the bad and the ugly that are involved with that, so you have to be careful. But you have to decide, are you selling your business too quickly? Do you need to raise money? When you sell equity in your business, this is always a big thing. People often sell equity in their business too early, and because they're desperate for the money in order to grow to that bit, and then they suddenly find themselves owning 49% of a business that they've built, that they've left their job for to build their own business, and suddenly they're working for someone else. So there's all kinds of things, and suddenly selling pieces of equity, if you can hold on to your equity of your business as long as you can, when you finally get that exit deal, it's so much easier, because if you're the majority shareholder, it's so much easier. What would be the other things? I think your partner, you need to not just fall in love with them and have a first kiss. You need to know that it's like a marriage when you sell a business. And especially if you have an earn out, you won't, I presume, you're not going to sell your business and exit straight away. You have to stay with it. So you have to make sure that the people that you've sold to are the people that you really think they are, and make sure that your earn out, as you earn out, is not constrained, so it stops you from hitting certain targets. There's all kinds of things to learn, but Gary's got a long list if you need them.
We have another question over here for the lady in the orange. Oh, and in the blue.
Hi Joe, Amandine from France, also from the fragrance business. Quick question, you already told us a little bit about it, but how did you combine your family life? How did you combine your life as a mom and as an entrepreneur, or your career in general?
I just did my best every single day, and I try and live every day. So I'm very much a person that lives in the moment, and I think fighting cancer taught me that. I've got one son, so who is very easy, by the way. So I never got it. I never had
Lucky.
a difficult. I never had a difficult, but he was very creative the whole time. I would take him everywhere with me, and he's now 21 and so entrepreneurial because it's kind of rubbed off on him.
Of course.
But I sometimes got things really right, and I sometimes got things really wrong. And I remember one particular time, and I tried really hard to fit in with all the mums at school, but I was often the one dropping off, and they were having coffee or going to their office later, and I was running to the shop or I was doing something. But I tried very, very hard to fit in. But I remember one particular day, Josh came home and handed me something from school, and it said, tomorrow the Mayor of London is coming to the school, and also we would love all the children to dress up in the Spanish flag for some reason.
Oh.
So I read, being dyslexic, I read half the invitation, got Josh all dressed in the Spanish flag to go to school the next morning, and I turn up and all the mothers are looking at me with all their children dressed immaculately in their blazers and their shorts. And they said, Joe, did you not read the invitation? I said, yeah, I did. It said the mayor is coming and dress them in the Spanish flag. And she went, why would you dress your child in the Spanish flag for the mayor of London? It was the seniors that had the mayor, and the juniors had to dress up as a Spanish flag for some big day. And poor Josh was a senior dressed head to foot in yellow, red, and
Oh my goodness.
green or whatever. And we laughed. And in our family, we found laughter, and I'm sorry. I've always been there on every sports day. My son's a fencer, and my husband went to every single session. And sometimes you don't get it right, but don't punish yourself. And you know what? Children don't remember things, they remember moments.
Yeah.
And we would just, you know, if I made a muck up like that, I would go, okay, we're doing a pizza picnic in the park today. and you just kind of go with it, and you try your very best. And sometimes, you know, when your child is sick, I'm sorry, but if your child is sick, I want to be with my child at home. And we now run a company with mostly women, and mostly women of childbearing, having their babies. And if their child is sick, you stay at home. Don't worry about it. You know, so, you know something, we'll get it all done. You know, we all pull together. And so they're the two, you know, it's the most important job in the world. Being a wife is much more difficult.
Gary.
I try very hard on that one as well.
Right back here.
Thank you, Joe. So before I ask my question, I want to just make a comment. So welcome to Dubai, and may the joys of creating perfume in Dubai be yours and ours everlasting.
Oh.
Thank you. How lovely.
So my
Thank
question
you.
to
Thank
you is that perfumery always borrows words from like other senses. So this is sweet, or this is citrusy, as in like from the food. So what are the 3 words that you would describe for a perfume coming out of Dubai?
Oh, I love that. The wood of a boat, the warmth of the sun hitting the deck of a boat. And I see Dubai as white, which always signifies eucalyptus. So eucalyptus, cedar, the eucalyptus of the whiteness of something, the cedars of the wood. But I think like smoke, you know, the bahur, is it bahur, am I pronouncing that right? Bahur?
Bakur, I think.
Bakur.
Yeah.
That smell to me is just, I just love it. Love, love, love it. I love enveloping myself. I mean, in the hotel room, I've got some burning, and as I walk, we got a little walkway that takes us to dinner every evening, and they burn it. And I close my eyes and I feel I'm home. And I think I must have been here in some other life. I must have come back, and I must have lived in this region.
Yeah.
Because it means so much to me. But the sunshine, yeah, there's so many. I went up in a hot air balloon across the desert a few months ago, and the smell of the air as it's coming up early morning, and it was like nothing. It was almost like a skin of an orange and salt. It was a really different combination. I could smell wood, and I didn't know whether it's from the wicker of the basket. And it was just, so everything is just a new experience for me here. I could be standing in the desert, or I'm standing on the edge of the sea as the red of the sun was setting last night. And everything is a means for me to create fragrance. So many. But my next fragrance, which launches in March next year, is called Ebony and Cassis. And it's the story that I have yet to do, which is being in a little boat in Oman and overlooking the night. I'm going to sleep on the boat overnight, and I'm going to look at the stars in the sky. And the whole bottle has been designed to look at the Middle Eastern sky, and being on a little, is it called a Amma? Well, what are those wooden boats called? Abra. That's it, thank you. An Abra. And just lying there looking at the stars and the dolphins swimming by the side of me. And so it's all about, so who knows what I'm going to create. I'm just excited at the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, you have a windfall of inspiration coming. Are there any other questions? Oh, right here for this lovely lady.
Thank you, both of you. It's just been an absolute pleasure to listen to you, and I don't know, it just I feel like it awoke something that was a little bit asleep as I heard you speak about the fragrances. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you. A wolf that was asleep.
Awoke something that was asleep.
Oh, okay, how lovely.
So, I mean, this is, sorry to take you away, but a little bit more on the business side of things. I work for a prominent online retailer, and your fragrances are very popular. But this little theatrical experience that we just witnessed, how do we translate this to the person that's actually buying this online? And that's happening more and more now, isn't it?
It's, do you know what, for the last 2 years, I kept saying to the team, we have to create this for online. And so we're creating a tapas kit that you will be able to enjoy. And so the little 7-year-old boy will be so pleased because he gets a little
how fun.
Cocktail shaker for the shower. But you're right, and but it's not just about that. How do we bring online retail into an experiential moment? And that will be through storytelling. That will be through teaching and engaging. And we look at social media, and you look at Instagram, and Instagram have managed to do that. They've brought things alive through the passion of storytelling and passing education and those things. If we keep thinking online is just about buying a product and making it easy, we will date ourselves, and you will find yourself in just a few years' time running behind instead of ahead. So we really do have to, focus our minds. I mean, I've seen an iPhone where you can push a button. It's not for sale yet, but I hope it will be, where you would be able to smell.
I've always wondered about this.
So you put a cartridge into the phone, and then you're able to go online with Joe Loves. No, we don't have this up and running at the minute, but I love to do this. And then you push a button, you hear me tell the story, and then the smell. So what happens is you're listening, you're hearing, and you're smelling. So you're sampling. That's what you're doing.
That is absolutely incredible.
Exciting. That's why we need to collaborate with tech.
Yeah.
That's why we need to collaborate with people that make movies.
Yeah.
Because they know how to do those things. So we know how to create fragrance and beauty, which is one of the most engaging industries in the world. But we need others in order to get our message out there and our storytelling.
It truly is a collaboration.
But when you find the answer, please share it with me.
Is there any other questions for Joe before we finish? Oh, we have one last one right over here. Last one, yes.
Thank you for a very inspiring speech. My name is Favan from Ethiopia, so we make natural ingredients. As an early stage company, I think the things that I'm thinking about are around scale and what are the trade-offs when it comes to scale and considering sort of your team and human resources. So I'd love to learn about what your experience has been.
I didn't get most of that question. I'm so sorry. I got some of it.
Okay, can you hear me better?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
better. Yep.
Okay, so my name is Feven from Ethiopia. I'm the founder and CEO of a company that makes natural ingredients.
Okay.
At this stage of growth, I'm thinking a lot about trade-offs and what it means to scale, in particular when it comes to your team and some of the sort of ethos that you want to keep for your people.
Mm. So that is such a relevant question as well, because companies are growing really fast, really quickly.
Mhm.
How do you keep the heartbeat? Well, the founder knows that business from the beginning when it was first founded, and they have understood its growth. But what people don't understand is as you grow, the founder often will have the future in their own head. So in order to keep the belief as you grow, you have to keep that heartbeat. So I would say core values are vital. We have a little compass that we have in the company, which they all begin with I, inspiration and innovation. And I'll explain it in a minute. Inspiration, innovation, the best friends. You can't innovate without being inspired. They hold hands, those two. So those are important. Instinct, ignition, and I've forgotten the last I. Hold on. Pardon? I do have instinct. No, hold on. Instinct, inspiration, innovation, inspiration, instinct, ignition, and integrity. God, why didn't I forget that one? Sorry, my lot going through my head today. 5 things. And so what we do is we gauge if we employ a new member of the team.
Mhm.
We sign a new product. You know, if we can't tick 5 of those 3 eyes, 3 of those 5 eyes, it's not for us.
Okay.
So you really have to hold, who are you? What do you want to be? What do you want to do for the future? What do you want your business to be? Who do you want your team to be? And I have to say, as the founder, you need to be sitting at the front of that ship, and you need to trust the people behind you to steer it. Because in order to grow, you will not be able to do both. You have to decide. For Gary and I, it's easy, because Gary is the one that actually manages the business, makes it make money, does all the IP, does all of that. And I sit at the front of the ship looking for opportunity and looking for creativity. So you have to decide who you are, where you want to be, and then you have to build a really strong, solid team around you that you trust and you respect. And I would say, remember, one bad apple rots the crate, one good apple can build an orchard. Build orchards of people within your businesses. Be people you trust, you respect, and have the same values as you. And as you grow, you will keep that same heartbeat.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you, Joe. I could sit here all day long and just chit-chat with you. I really could, but unfortunately, our conversation has come to an end. Thank you so much, Joe, for being such a source of inspiration to us. Thank you. And
sorry, I had a coughing fit.
no, don't say about it. You are just so loved, and you're cherished, and you have created so many wonderful memories for people all over the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.